better. I don't know what you just, yeah, it's gone off again.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Technical difficulties in Zoom land. All right, I'm sure that now it's up and roaring. With that said, Black Lions Domain, kids, welcome back to Breakfast in Black Lions Domain. I actually have had three, or so far, two lovely guests, and now I have a third. And this is the second of an unexpected three from Australia. So Zachary Shiloh kids is down in the land down under. So I'm talking to a multiple times best-selling author and much, much more by the name of Terri Tonkin. How are you, love?
I'm very well, thank you. And yes, I'm speaking from Brisbane, Australia. It's 7:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, so, and a beautiful day today, no storms.
Woo, I love that. That's absolutely great. All right, so we met by way of one David Vine, who was an actual co-author of mine in a book called They Are Magic. So David brought me on for this book that he was doing called Igniting the Passion, as I laid out in multiple episodes of this blessed show. And he wanted me to just contribute somehow. I didn't know how originally, because I was busy with a different book he helped inspire called Letters of Love. I was in the second generation. He was in the first. So I'm doing my thing, and he just pulls me aside and just says, okay, I would like for you to join this book that I'm doing. I said, okay, why not? So off the races we went, and here we are, nearly a year later, for what it feels like to me, but for this beautiful hun and the previous one, the unicorn love, as I call her, Trish Springsteen, it's been over a year. David Vine. Shame for holding these two beautiful huns hostage. You crazy son of a gun. Crazy son of a gun. But I love you. You know I say it out of love. I don't mean it to actually cuss you out completely.
Us Aussies are tough. We can take it.
Oi, oi, oi.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oi, oi, oi. Yes, y'all are. Okay, so with that said, dear, it's been quite a journey as igniting the passion, and we'll get to that point sometime in this episode. Let's focus on you, my beloved short-haired client. Can you please give my listeners your background here?
Oh, wow. Where do I start?
Wherever you want.
I've been around the planet quite a few years. Had quite a varied career. When I finished my high schooling, which is 12 years of schooling here in Australia, I actually joined the military. I joined what was the Women's Royal Australian Air Force. Later that integrated into the Royal Australian Air Force, and I served for just over 3 years. I met my husband after 4 days of being in the Air Force, and we're still together many years later.
Nice.
Slight dinosaurs there. I'm actually very fortunate. Then when I left the military, I went back into retail, as I had done whilst I'd been at school. So I did retail. I taught swimming lessons. I joined one of our major 4 banks over here and did 14 years with them. Left the bank, I went into youth work, and I was working with young people that were leaving school and helping them transition either into further education, training or employment. And I did that for a bit over 5 years and absolutely loved that, working with the young people and setting them up for their future. Help find a career and helping them sustain it, but also letting them know that getting a job wasn't necessarily having a career, but getting a job would help them set up their path for the future. So that was an amazing 5 years. And from there, I actually went and worked for the Commonwealth Government department that funded those programs.
Oh,
So
wow.
jumped sides. And I ended up being what we call a contract manager for the organisations that were delivering the youth programs. So instead of working on the face to face, I was actually working behind and working with the organisations, which many of the organisations I'd worked with as a youth provider. So I was able to do that for 10 years. There was a change in government here. All the programs were disbanded. And unfortunately, they put me into an area that it was not conducive with me. I didn't like it at all. I was very fortunate. I was able to take a redundancy package. It took about 18 months to want to people again.
Mm-hmm.
The situation had become quite toxic, but that's okay. Moved on. So then I went and did some volunteering, and I was working at a local neighbourhood centre doing literacy tutoring for migrants. So I was helping one woman in particular actually learn to read and write English. She could see it, she could write letters, write simple words, but she was unable to read to any extent. So for 12 months I worked with her, and by the time we finished, she was able to read a recipe, and she loved to cook. So that was what we focused on, was something that she loved, so that she had the interest in reading. And I also did assisted reading with my grandson's school. So going into the classroom and helping kids learn to read. And that was a bit of an eye-opener for me. My grandson was in grade 3, so he would have been 6, 7, 8 or 9. And there were many children in his class who couldn't read even at that stage, and they'd been at school for 3 or 4 years. So it was disheartening to see that they couldn't read, but at the end of the year, it was lovely to see that they could read, or their reading had improved. So that was heartwarming, that one.
Oh.
I decided I'd go back and study, and I took on life coaching and did an 18-month course in life coaching. During that time, I started my business in coaching, ran workshops, facilitated workshops, did one-to-one coaching, did some group presentations. I also started my own networking group. So I was sitting at home by myself, trying to learn business, really didn't know where to ask for help. So I started a networking group called Women Embracing Business.
Uh-huh.
The group was set up for support, encouragement and collaboration. And I had that for 3 years and passed that on to one of the founding members earlier this year. So that was wonderful as well. Some beautiful collaborations came out of that group and some wonderful support networks and connections. Whilst I was doing all of that, I decided in 2018, when I'd finished my coaching, I contacted my book coach and said, okay, I'm ready to write that book that I've wanted to write since I was little. And she said, why now? And I said, I've run out of excuses. As an author, I'm sure you'll understand there's a list of excuses, always. So I wasn't full-time into my coaching because I also become carer for my mum. So I'd literally run out of excuses. I was in a position financially where I could take time to do it. I had time on my hands. There were no more excuses. So I started in her 90-day mentoring program, and with the aim of being a published author within 90 days. 3 weeks, we didn't write. We just did that brain dump, clear the head, set up what our objectives were, why were we writing it, who were we writing it for, all of that setup stuff. Writing, and within 25 days I had the shell of I had my manuscript basically, and then it went out to beta readers, editing, all of those sorts of things, and on day 90 I hit publish. So I did that through KDP, Kindle Direct, which was, I think, Create Space back then. I became an author. It was this little gem. My Time to, oh, there we go. My Time to Shine. I don't know if you can see that. It's not coming up very clear from my side.
Nah, but I get the point.
My Time to Shine. It's basically my memoir. And I wrote that so, like I said, my mum had gone into care and I wanted her to be able to read it before she became too ill. And she did. So, and I wrote it for my kids and my grandkids, really. I wrote it for me, but for my family. Both my mum and dad have now passed. I have a brother who passed, and there's only my brother and myself left. So I wanted our childhood to be read by his kids as well, and my other brother's children and mine, so that they had an understanding of what my life was like. It's 0 to 60 now, thinking back, but you know. I guess in that it's never too late to write your first book. I was 60 when I wrote my first book, and then the bug bit me.
Oh, God bless you, hon. You look great for your 60s.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
so
God.
in 2019 is when I met David, and we were both contributing authors to a book called Business Warriors.
Yeah.
Taking care of working women in the 21st century. And my chapter in that one was around perception, and I actually called it Reality Check. So that, as you know, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. And it was really making people aware that there's so many opportunities out there if you look at things differently. We all using our beliefs and, you know, our attitudes are based on all of those sorts of things. But if you actually take the rose-coloured glasses off and look outside, there's so many more options. So that was 2019. At the end of 2019, my mum did pass away.
Oh, my goodness.
Time out. Thank you. I took time out. I needed time to grieve. So early 2020, I thought, okay, it's time to step back. So I started doing a couple of little short courses to get the mind stimulated. My husband was then made redundant. We decided we would travel. So we went and booked a lot of travel. He was looking at retiring, but he was made redundant 6 months earlier. So that was okay. We'll take this as an opportunity. Thank you very much, universe. We'll go and do our travel. A month later, that virus hit and all our travel was cancelled. Like, okay, where do I go now? What do I do? A friend of mine contacted me and she said, I've just written a chapter for this book. She's looking for authors for the next one. Would you be interested? Why not? I've got time. So then along came Changemakers, Volume 3.
Ooh.
And my chapter in that was the basis for that book. There's 25 authors in that one. The basis for that one was, what impact have you had? What influence have you had? Or how have you influenced others? So in that book, I talked about my networking group. And again, that support, encouragement and collaboration and what had come out of that group. So that was a beautiful opportunity. Then another opportunity came along. I was contacted by a past colleague putting this book together on mindset. Are you interested? And I said, are you talking business mindset, personal mindset? She said, mindset. Leave it open. Beautiful. What am I going to write about? Of course I'm in. I've got that bug. So my chapter in that one is called I Can Run. And it was how I had to change my mindset from being a non-runner to running 3 half marathons.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it wasn't only my body that had to get used to that change, it was my mind. I had to look at things like nutrition, hydration. What clothes do I wear? What shoes do I wear? As silly as it sounds, what socks do I wear? What what underwear do I wear? Because you don't want to be chafed when you're running 25 kilometres. So that was a different style again, but it was on mindset. It was how I had to train my mind to believe that I could achieve that. I'd never run more than 10 kilometres. In the lead up to that, I ran 5s, 8s, 10s, 14 kilometres, and my training runs were about 19 kilometres. So that's 16 miles, I think it is, for a half marathon where you are. So that book was called I Did It, and it was all around mindset. So that was late 2020, and like I said, Trish Springsteen, who you'd had on earlier, had been thinking about a book. She approached me and she said, I'm putting this together. What do you think? And I said, I'm in. And that was Forever Changed by Suicide. And I had lost a brother to suicide. So this was my story about his passing had impacted me. And the reason I did that one is I want the blame, the shame and the guilt to be put aside.
Aww.
Whether you're one that's been left behind or whether you are a survivor, the guilt, the shame and the blame has got to go. And we can't have it as a taboo subject. So that was that opportunity. And at a similar time as Trish was putting that one together, I was approached by the publisher of Business Warriors, and she said, I've got this lady putting this book together and it's Mothers Making a Difference. I really think you'd be a good fit. Oh, okay, put me in touch. So she did. And I spoke to Jess, that lady's name is Jess Cermak. Mm-hmm. And I spoke to Jess and I said, tell me more. And it was for women mothers who have made a difference in the lives of others. So have they had a child with a disability and they've worked through and got a new program up and running, or they've had adversity in their life and they've overcome that adversity. Most of them were stories of almost hero stories in that they've overcome adversity. And I said, I've been very blessed, Jazz. I don't want to write from that perspective. I want to write about identity and to put labels on. If you ask a woman, what do you do? She said, oh, I'm a mum. I'm a teacher. I'm this or I'm that. And I said to her, I want to talk about identity because women do tend to label themselves, and I want to let them know that they are so much more than that. So my chapter in that is called Who Am I? And it really is letting women know that they are so much more than a label or a tag or whatever it is. The very last chapter in the book, and she said, we've put it there for a reason because it actually sums up all of the stories in that women are more than a woman, a mother. So that was a beautiful book. There was this book that we're doing now, and David had said to me, would I write a case study? And I went, oh, okay. Here we go. Do you want a chapter? No, a case study, he said, which apparently is turning out almost like a chapter anyway, similar to you, I guess. Mm-hmm. Again, it's how I have transitioned through my life, and I've now found my passion, and that is writing. So it has been quite a transition for me. Like I said, I was 60 when I wrote my first book. I've got 6 published there now. I write for an online magazine called Disruptive Author. And in that it's Have You Found Your Happiness? So it's hints and tips on how to find your happiness. And since that as well, so David's will be number 7. David actually put me in contact with somebody else, and I'm writing a chapter on, well, I have written a chapter on gratitude. That's in editing phase. I've also written a chapter on inspiration and an inspiring life. And that is what has inspired me and how I aspire to inspire others. So there's that one coming out. And then there's another one coming out on Mother's Day, and it's called A Mother's Journey. And I think David actually put me in contact with that lady as well. So by the time Mother's Day comes around next year in May, I'll have 10 books.
Oh, God.
And then I decided I'd take my writing to another level, and I now have 2 clients that I'm ghostwriting for. So I'm actually writing their stories. So I've expanded my writing.
Oh, wow. You're phenomenal.
And my passion.
Oh, God bless you, dear. 10 bestsellers to be. That's amazing feedback there. Oh, God. I think
So a bit of a long story, but yeah, like I said, I've been around the planet a few times.
that's all right. That's all right. I don't mind when people tell me about their bestsellerships. It makes me inspired. That's why I'm almost 7 times, hon.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Bug.
Oh, yes. Tell me about it. Oh, God. I keep on telling this story, but I love telling it. So I am a type 2 diabetic, or I used to be, used to be a type 2. All I did was take something like this, a pen, and just write in something like this, a journal.
Yep.
And just
I'm a journaler.
Because roll with your own time. But anyways, back to the story at hand. So I'm just writing almost practically every single day. And unbeknownst to me, I'm starting to set up my own destiny. And along comes a certain Blair Hayes into the mix. And my Black Lions Roar goes from 17-page solo books. And I've paid unknowingly final chapter in a book called They Are Magic. I said, excuse me, when I first heard that. I thought I was going to be the opening chapter after a certain somebody chimed in named Tammy. He said, Zachary Shiloh, because Blair was asking at the time. And I said, Larkins, is it a certain roar? And she said, no, congratulations, you're last. I still joins out every single time when I tell that story because it's the truth. And I do appreciate that my chapter was the last one. I never thought in my wildest dreams when I sent Black Lions Roar to Blair that I even would be the last. I thought, if anything, I'd probably be the first chapter because I was the quote unquote first male in that actual book series. So why not start it off with me? But then I found out, and it's very humbling that every single book that I've been in with Larkin, I've been high ranked. This one that's out now, I'm like the 6th chapter, and I kind of laugh at my position because of our book, and we're talking about that shortly. Oh God, I'm the 6th chapter in a final book. And I couldn't have asked for any better. I thought that was going to be my 6th bestseller. So it would have been 6th chapter, 6th book, 6th bestseller.
Yeah.
But because of technical difficulties and all of us being introverted.
There's always technical difficulties.
Especially when we're introverts.
Yeah.
Especially our publishers, who I love fully. And don't think I'm trying to hurt you too. I'm just saying it out loud. A lot of love for you. I understand what you two are going through, but somebody had to speak up in there too.
Yeah, I've, like I said, in Mothers Making a Difference, I'm the last chapter. In a couple of the compilations, they've done it so, pardon me, each author gets to be the first, and then you get your name on the cover. So I've been first, I've been last, and I've been somewhere in between. And to me, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, man.
I've had the joy of writing and the privilege of being published. So
I hear you. And when I look at my bestsellerships, Melly DeVoe, or the former Millie Dorsey books, as I used to call
Mhm.
She actually asked me one day, she said, Zach, why does your bestseller ships mean so much to you? I said, Melly Love, I had just the taste of one. Just
Mm.
one. And I wanted more. It was an adrenaline. That's number one. Number two, it's a justification of a near 2 year journey. Number three is justification of being very successful in our industry, the writing industry. Number four, to catch up to a certain Polish love who lives in Scotland, but now presently is moving God knows where. So I was actually finished with Letters of Love, I believe, but I was on the road to its release. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm standing in Amazon's Staten Island warehouse, and I'm thinking about my dear friend, the Polish, and how much I wanted to be like her. Because our book, me and her, we actually were in the same book called Ascension 2. I had half of what she's had, which was 6. So I had 3. So I wanted to catch up to it. But I realized that Rebel Romance, this beautiful erotica book that's coming out in January after our book, Terri, comes out, that would be my 7th. That would be my 7th. I said, excuse me, that's my 7th? That's cool beans. But then I thought of my dear friend, the Polish lover, and I said, no way. No way. It's gonna be mine and hers. My 7th, her 7th, and our 2nd together. This is great beans.
Yeah.
But the ultimate.
Every time you published is great.
Yeah, but the thing that I actually am 34 years old and I have 7, that's amazing.
Mhm.
I exceeded my Polish love. My Polish love, she actually had like a 6 by the time she was 35. But
Like I said, I didn't start till I was 60 and I've got 10.
God bless you.
You're too late.
God bless your husband, by the way. Back to the story at hand. All right, so the Polish love, my beloved Polish love, she's had 6, and we are getting ready to have our 7th in the form of Rebel Romance. And it hit me that not only are we getting ready to tie each other for a brand new book, I was thinking about some of the biggest influences in the world that are big in the self-help universe.
Mhm.
One of them, I keep on saying this name proudly because it should be heard around the world, is named Mary Ann Williams.
Yep.
She is a published 13 times author. Out of those 13, the number that were bestsellers is 7. And when that stat hit me, I almost fell on my knees because my Polish love, my unforgettable Polish love, and I are getting ready to tie with one of the greatest self-help teachers in the world.
Yeah.
And it awes me that we're tying with her in January on the 21st. And when that really hits, I don't know how to feel beyond overjoyed for Polish love enough. But then, as I was waiting for Letters of Love to be released, I felt like Alexander the Great. I keep on repeating myself on these episodes now, but it's well worth me saying so. I felt like Alexander the Great. I've done everything in the co-writing world. After listening to one Dr. John Gray, author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, talk about his regret that his wife did not get any contribution rights for helping them make that successful series. And when she died, that bothered him. It ate him for years. And he did apologize to her as she was on her deathbed, but she said, it's okay, it's okay. but it still bothered him years later. So to some degrees or another, that's what inspired me to get into co-authoring. And I never regretted it. But now, after all those co-authoring, I could hear a, and I've seen the likes of you, I've seen the likes of Trish, to some degrees or another, the likes of David, my dear friend Melly DeVoe, my dear friend Veronica Sanchez Dorados, my mentor Blair Hayes, my friend Stephanie Mahoney, my dear friend Dr. Marian Nisbet. All of you had one thing in common besides being successful in the co-authoring. Either you've already had or are in the process of having solo books in the works.
Yeah.
And when that hit me, I said, oh, that's what I gotta do now. I've done the 7 Black Lions Roars. It's time for me to go solo. I wanted to do a solo book with my Polish love, but she said no. She said no.
It's not a solo book.
Exactly. I know, but it would have been like a collaboration between me and her on a solo tip without her friend Jan, our dear friend Jan, and other people. It would have been me and her alone, like in a date, except that we're telling the world how he became successful in my mind. But I could hear this again, and that 7 co-authoring's are now going to be my solo story. I want to tell how I went through every single one of them to get to that point. And people are saying to me, that's going to be your best 8th seller. That's going to be your 8th seller. So it's time for you to go solo. And I said, yep, that's my life story.
That knocking's getting louder.
Yes, it is. And that's why I did what I did about a few weeks to a month ago, where I had to fuss over 2 people. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. But I love them wholly. That's why I had to do it. That's why I had to do it. I had to get on David and Jay. I had to, because if they didn't hear somebody at some point, it would have almost taken another year. And I would have been like, no, I needed the 7 Black Lions Roars to do my solo.
No, I'm hearing you.
I need them. As much as they were a blessing to get, they were really scarring to get to. Like this book, Igniting the Passion, you and Trish already had your chapters done.
Yeah.
That was over a year, according to our dear unicorn.
Yes. It's been quite a while. Yes.
And I know you two, you don't want to wait. You don't want to wait no more. I could tell Munya Dongokan from Zimbabwe, he don't want to wait no more.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It has been a long time.
Oh, yes, it has been. And if somebody didn't speak up, it would have been, maybe I'd taken you and Unicorn up almost 2 years. It would have taken me over a year, and everybody else, only God knows what. I don't know where Munya, Abby, and Cheryl fit in with Jack. But the bottom line is, we have a date now. And I'm happy.
Which is fantastic. It'll be a great way to start off the year.
Oh, God. And to think of the actual process of it, I still am in awe that it's not like a prototypical journal or it's an actual interview. Like,
well, that's what I say. It was David contacted me and he said, would I be interested in doing a case study? From my understanding, it appears that it's almost a standalone, I'll say chapter, of my journey. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I wrote to the interview questions, and that's how I wrote it. But it wasn't like question, answer, question, answer, question. It was my story. So yeah.
Well,
It was a different way of doing it. It was a different way of doing it. So.
When I think about my actual chapter, I was reading those questions and I kind of got stumped. I did my best the first round I did, but then I got stumped and I said, oh, I got nothing to say quite so much. And then thank God, in a sense, that David didn't have a deadline because I would have probably. But I did look at things in the long run. I got Rebel Romance and Magical Miracles done because my writing style went from Wildfire to Inferno. And then I saw them as a bridge to Igniting the Passion. I thought, all right, Igniting the Passion can tease Magical Miracles. Magical Miracles can tease Rebel Romance. Let's do a bridge like that. So I actually did start using certain people that are aforementioned in those two books that were supposed to be after our book, but certain things happened and
things happen for a reason.
I know.
Things happen for a reason. So this could be the best thing that could have happened for us. It'll start off the year for us, get the ball rolling, and there you go. Got a different pathway.
You got that right. Oh yeah. God. When I think of that, it's a blessing in disguise. I will not lie. It's a blessing. But those questions, I actually keep on hinting at this, and it's absolutely fun. My chapter, I answer the questions the best I can, but there's one question that David asks, and I don't remember which one it was, but there's a point where it almost sounds like it could be politically charged. So I said, David, you crazy son of a gun. You know I don't like politics shit. You know I don't like politics, but you want me to go there. Okay. Oh, here we go.
And that could have depended on what was happening in the world at the time.
I know, but still, either which way, if I read that question right, I said, oh, yeah, that means I gotta talk about boundaries. All right, let's do it short. So there was a disclaimer. I said, all right, basically, this is Zachary Shiloh Watts' opinion. Do not go after David Vine. Do not go after J Ma. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. This is my opinion. And then I just lay out what it was. And I had a good laugh after it was all said and done. My overall chapter, I love it. It was a good point for me to actually have now that I'm looking at the 7 books that I've been in. Like I did my first book, that was basically my relationship with the internet and how I got to my interview thing that you're blessing me with an appearance, how it changed me. After that was a tribute to a dear friend who because of cancer. Third was the book of me being a supernatural human being. Fourth was a letter to the business industry. So I thought, okay, I've done 2 letters, I've done an ascension, I've done basically my rise to fame, quote unquote. What's the next one? And David came, and that's how I actually did the interview. I said, okay, I know. Then after that comes the final magic book by Blair Hayes, and following, I was hoping was coming, is Rebel Romance, and that's an erotica, and I'm still jazzing out. I'm like, what? I'm in a sex book somewhat? Not a complete sex-tacular. What did I say? It's not a complete sex-tacular. It's got some meaning. My chapter, I know that's if I actually could live in a different universe, I'd be with my poetry. And it's not just me wanting to insert my lower in her lower. It's me wanting to be with her. Like, what would we do if we had time together? How would we be together? And there's a point at the end, I'm not saying what it is, that may, yep, that people may want tissues for. I'll leave it at that. All right.
I've been offered another opportunity next year as well to write in another compilation. And it was funny love stories.
Oh, wow.
Basically, how did you meet your partner? And this publisher had put out just a bit of a random out on Facebook and said, if we were to do a book about, how you met your partner and have a good laugh, are there any good funny stories about how you met your partner? And I just wrote back and went, yeah, I met mine in a phone box. I literally did. And we're still together almost 46 years later. So, phone boxes aren't bad. So she contacted me privately and she said, would you seriously like to write a story about it? And I went, yeah, why not? I can do that.
Oh, wow. You and Unicorn actually had hubbies for the same amount of time. That's great. God bless. God bless you, beautiful ones. That's great.
Of course, I was only 10 when I met him, right?
Oh, wow.
And that's not true. So
if that was the case, I would have said, God bless you, hon. You had quite a relationship since you were little.
We have. We've got two grown-up boys, adult boys, and 5 grandchildren. So we're doing okay.
That's way beyond okay. That's way better. That's way better than okay.
Yeah, so there's another compilation book next year. But with my ghostwriting, I was asked, one of the authors in the suicide book actually contacted me and she said, would I like to write a chapter in a book she was putting together? And I said, oh, it depends on what it is. And she said, around family and domestic violence. And I said, no, not my genre. I've been very blessed. I've never had to experience it. So no. She said, oh, have you had any friends? And I went, yes, I have. And she said, could you write from that perspective? And I said, no. That's my perspective. It's not their story. I don't really know the facts of everything. So I said, no. I actually said no to writing.
Aww.
I decided I would go into ghostwriting. And my 2 clients are both survivors of domestic violence. And they're getting me to write their story because writing their story is too triggering for them. And I think they've chosen me because I don't have the emotional attachment to what they went through. So it's quite interesting where your writing can take. I actually said no to writing about DV, to having 2 clients with the same background.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, so with my ghostwriting, I'm taking on memoirs and more of that personal development, lifestyle, well-being. I'm not doing non-fiction. I'm not doing fiction, get that right. I'm not doing fiction. I'm doing memoirs and lifestyle well-being. That's my background, so yeah.
Oh, that's great beans, hon. And with that said, it is time to start wrapping this bad boy up because you gotta go have breakfast and be with your hubby. All right, with that said, my dear, the ending has changed for months because of Zoom and people possibly not being able to hear me. Your hopes, my dear Terri Tonkin, my beautiful hun from Australia. What are your hopes for the future, dear?
I'd like to expand my ghostwriting. I'm actually enjoying that experience, and I will continue writing in my own right as well. So, ghostwriters don't always get the accolades. They also get the pleasure and the joy and the excitement of telling a story. because everybody has a story within them. Some people just don't know it.
Oh, that's the truth. That's the truth. I love that. All right. With that said,
Thank you very much.
hold
Humbly
on.
appreciate it. So great for the opportunity.
Hold on, hon. There's only a few more things left, and then I'll
There's a few more.
yeah, just a few more. If not now, I'm not thinking right now. In the next week to a month, can I have 3 people that's not in our cast that you think would be good for me to interview?
Any particular topic?
Any particular topic, fun, and any age.
Beautiful. Male or female?
Male or female. You can even have transgender if you want.
Okay.
As long as they're
I'll definitely think about this.
That's what matters.
Yep.
All right. And the last
people, I've got a few people that in mind just popping through. So
ooh. Well, I'm gonna ping you in private about that. All right. What can I, Zachary Shiloh or Zachary Shiloh Watts, what can I do for you going forward, love? What can I do?
I think by doing this podcast and letting people know that I'm a ghostwriter, that would be awesome.
Okie dokie. That's fair.
And I will send through my email to you and people can contact me direct.
All right. With that said, one goal, one aim, one road, one focus, your beautiful Hunskins and loves out there. And that's Lovins. We don't need no royals. We don't need no donkeys or elephants. I keep on saying that time again. All we need is each other. And I love me some her. I love the people in this house. And I'm what they all call passionate. Even if it sounds like I was burying poor David Vine and Jay Ma for being introverted. We're all introverted in some way. Oh, one song that actually stuck out to me says, we're all introverted, but deep inside we're all perverted.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going after David and Jay just for the sake of hurting them. No, it's accountability. And we need more of that in those forums.
And it's actually supporting them. It's actually supporting them to move forward.
And with that said, I have another guest that's waiting for me to actually let her in. And Terri has to go be with her hubby and kids for breakfast. With that said, I will see you shortly for the next episode of Breakfast Club and Black Lions Domain. See you soon. Bye.